backwards. Who could that be knocking at my door? The handsome Dean. DeepBlueMusic. Yes, yes, yes. That was an awkward high five from my part.
What are we listening to?
Well, listen, who could it be? Could it be DeepBlueMusic? The answer, yes. Gage. Yes, yes, yes. Thanks for being on the show, man. This is great. Yes. 224. DeepBlueMusic. My mom, when I started doing some of these, was like, you should have them start their own music. That was a nice fade. Where have you been all my life? I wish you could be running sound for me, because that would help out so much. Dean Christensen, thanks for being on the show, man.
Oh, yeah.
DeepBlueMusic. This guy is amazing. Right. We have, I'm trying to think, when did we meet? We met at open mic night. At Sozo.
Yeah, many moons ago.
Many moons ago.
Sozo, it's been like 5 years now, maybe?
Yeah, probably. I met, you sang with Aaron Shea.
Yeah.
And you guys did I'll Follow You Into the Dark.
Yeah, we did that song that so many people cover,
but you guys
coffee shops and open mic.
Hey,
yeah.
You guys did it.
Yeah, we tried to do an original slant on it.
It was amazing. You guys did a great job. I remember being like, this guy is super talented. And this girl is amazing. And Aaron became one of my best friends. And now we're becoming better friends here. We both share the same name, Dean, which is really cool as well. And where are we getting questions? What's going on? We got the Deans. Oh, that's my brother Lance.
This is the meeting of the Deans.
The meeting of the Deans.
Yeah.
You can't see this room, everything. You see one side of the room. It is a studio, and it is a very nice studio. I like that. Fender amp over there. We got a Fishman. Dude, this is great. And you have some airplanes up here as well.
So my dad was an airline pilot.
I do?
For United Airlines.
No way.
For many years, and so we used to joke around, like, you know how it is when parents kind of get with their kids, and sometimes they're like, so when we pass, is there anything in the house in particular you'd like? And like, oh, please stop talking.
You know? Don't say that.
That's not cool. Yeah. But then we would joke around because my dad had this gigantic eagle. Okay. Like this huge, because he was really patriotic, super ultra conservative guy. Yeah. Great guy, but he had this gigantic eagle. It was this big, and it was in his entryway, and neither of us wanted that, but it was spectacular. But we would joke around, like, I'd be like my brother, I'd be like, see, I know Lee wants the eagle. I was just talking to Lee, he wants the eagle.
He told me, he just called.
And then Lee would be the same way. No, Dean wants the eagle, and the girls would be the same way. But anyways, I said all along, all I really wanted was the airplanes that my dad flew.
I'll show you right here. You know the crazy thing
is? That's a Boeing 727.
A Boeing 727. Yeah. I think my dad used to fly one of these. He was a pilot for U.S. Airways.
And so he flew this as a captain for many years. This is a McDonnell Douglas DC-10. And as a kid, I was just always mesmerized by what my dad did. That was back in the 60s. And when being a pilot was almost like being a rock and roll star.
Yeah, those guys.
You ever seen the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, so it really was like that in those days.
That's insane.
So I used to look at my dad and think, oh wow,
this guy
that's my dad.
He is a rock star, man. And now you're a rock star too. Let's jump into it. That's so crazy. First off, that we have the same name. Secondly, that both of our dads were pilots. I think you might have told me that last time.
Your dad's a pilot?
He was, yeah.
Dude.
U.S. Airways. He flew Airbus and DC, it was DC-9s, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
We have other things in common, too. We don't have to go into that.
Yeah,
but we know there's some other things in common.
We were talking about before. This is great. If you haven't listened to Deep Blue Day, you got to listen to them. Dean is amazing, and you have such a great sound. And I feel like you really just nailed this genre, but also put your own style on it as well. And what would you describe that genre as? I think we were talking about that before.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an odd hybrid. I like a lot of different music. I've always, I'm older than Dean is, so I was around during the post-punk era, and even though I kind of high school era was the late '70s. When the early '80s came around, absolutely loved the post-punk new wave scene.
Okay.
And then there was a couple of groups, you know, Depeche Mode, Clan of Zymox, which is a little darker.
Okay.
They were around during the time. But that's kind of had a bit of a resurgence now. Like it's had kind of a there's definitely like the band the 1975. You know, there's been a kind of the 80s feel has kind of come back.
Yeah, that big push.
But you know, I was too busy raising a family to really do a lot of stuff that I wanted to do over the years. But now that the kids are kind of growing up and out of the house, I'm like, well, there's a chance I can still be fun and have some fun and be creative and create some stuff.
Yes.
But anyways, the genre is, that's a long way of answering that question. I would consider it like the dark wave. My music probably isn't, in some ways it's still pretty dark, but in other ways it's probably a little more ethereal in some ways.
I would say that.
It's almost like dark ethereal.
Next couple weeks,
Some of the music, like in lyrics, you can't really tell, but I've maybe intentionally or unintentionally wrote in like some spiritual concepts, you know, and so... yeah, it's very subtle.
Yes,
you know, but
it has this just a beautiful soundscape overall. It's really easy to get sucked in for songs at a time. We were talking about that before as well. There's the album that you just released is In This Life. You've had some stuff before as well, but I want to talk about this specific album right now. There's a chunk between Own Me, which is the 6th track, and the 10th track, 10 Feet Tall. Interesting how that goes. Yes, look at that right there. That section, whatever I was doing, I remember stopping and just being like, oh my gosh, this is so great.
Was it the beginning of 224? Like,
yes.
Yeah, I was just telling Dean before we turned the cameras on, like, yeah, this is one of my favorite tracks. It's kind of soundtracky. There is some vocals in it, but it's just kind of ambient-ish, you know, ambient. So yeah, I love stuff like this. It just kind of just hits you and takes you away.
Yeah.
So
it's easy. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, put that back on.
So this was a track we played right at the beginning. 224. Hold on.
I love that build in right there.
There we go. Technology.
What is that right there? What was that thing?
It's just a little sound clip, you know.
That's so neat.
A little sample.
The sample on the top. Got it. Dude, it sounds so good. Just cutting into the chorus.
There's some of the vocals, you know, it's more spacey.
Yeah. Burnt out.
Oh wait. Gotta hear this one more.
I love that. That's just your voice over the top of it. That's so neat.
Yeah.
Is there so when you get, let's say, I have a bunch of questions about that. If you get a sample, like a clip, do you splice or how do you find the clips or samples that you put in there?
Various ways, you know. I just go out like a lot of us do when we're out trying to add extra production to something. I'll go out to, you know, just different places, you know. Sometimes I'll purchase samples or all this. There's places you can download free samples that are, you know, commercial free, but royalty free. But then it's just, a lot of that. Sometimes I'll just use a sound that's in one of the built-in synths on the DAW.
No way.
Yeah. So this song right before 224, speaking of friends from Sozo way back when, Sierra Cisneros is actually on this. So let's play a little clip of that. This is called Turn Around. This is probably the least dark song. It almost sounds like, my friend always says it sounds like Simple Minds, the group Simple Minds.
It could be Simple Minds, yeah.
So her voice is kind of a lot of the background stuff.
Yeah, she's amazing.
But she's got a really great, soulful, rich voice.
She does. Yes, she does. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
This was during COVID, so we were just sending it back and forth to each other.
Wow, really? Just internet days. I love that.
And here comes Sarah. She's got the greatest voice. Here we go.
Oh, it's awesome. Haunting. She's got some really great licks in there vocally. She does. You do too, man. You have such a great voice. What are some of the people that you pull from? I told you I wasn't going to give you. We have all the questions and then we just throw them out the window. What are some influences you had vocally?
Well, I already admitted my age. I'm old. I am older. I look younger than my age, but I now am looking older.
No, man, you look good. You drink a lot of water. Yeah. This guy's amazing.
But, like I said, the early post-punk era was huge for me. Depeche Mode, Clan of Xymox, YouTube, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. Mm-hmm. But, I listen to a lot of current music, too. I have to be honest, I do listen to a lot of stuff, like I said, that's in this genre. It's called dark wave. Like, I went through a phase where I was listening to Grimes.
Okay.
In her last album, Miss Anthropomorphine,
mm-hmm.
I mean, it's super dark and heavy, and it's really, really rich. But Grimes, I listened to Aurora and Guilty Little Secret. I love the 1975.
I like them. They're great.
What are some of the? There's a new band out called Actors. That
I haven't checked them out. I'll have to listen.
They're from BC, and they definitely have a very retro sound to them, but it's in that dark wave sound. But yeah, I love a lot of that, and I listen to a lot of current stuff that's in that genre. There's another group called She Passed Away, mm-hmm. which is a great one, and there's quite a few. I'm sure I'm not thinking of offhand.
I didn't ask. I didn't prep with that question at all. That is awesome. When you set up, so let's say with a song like this turnaround song, when you set that up, are you setting up with a synth first, or how do you find? I wouldn't even know where to start to write this type of music because it feels so lush.
It's pretty heavily electronic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do lay down some guitars, and which is funny because I have this, I think, really unique guitar sound. It was just done just kind of out of necessity and accident. There's a phrase it was my brother once passed on to me, but he's like, make your weaknesses your strengths.
Uh-huh.
I am not a great guitarist, like up and down the fretboard, even though I play at a coffee shop every weekend.
Yeah.
I'm a more of a strummer. I can kind of pick out some solo lines, that sort of thing. Yeah. I'm not like Dean Nelson.
No, I'm not that. I think you're amazing.
But yeah, I have an electric guitar, but I don't use that. I actually just thought, well, what if I took my acoustic guitar, put it in front of the microphone, and then just ran these effects through it, so really heavy flange, really heavy reverb and delay, and it kind of creates this big, huge, open, mm-hmm. Kind of grand sound. And it's a little higher and crisper than maybe the sound of electric guitar, so I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. So if you listen to the album, you kind of get some of that throughout the album in mm-hmm. certain songs. Some are all electronic, and some have some guitar in it.
Some of that, yeah.
So I'll give you another example.
Yeah.
Like this song, Message Untold.
Yes.
This is kind of the same. This is all acoustic guitar, ran through
I didn't
effects.
know. I would not have guessed it was acoustic.
Yeah.
That's great. Yes. Very deep. Like you said, it's
got almost a raw sound because it's the acoustic, right?
Yeah, you're totally right. Yes. Dude, that is great. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I love the motifs that go throughout it.
Do I have an idea of a song before I start it? No, especially not with this music.
Okay.
It's really about experimentation.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of times the most creative times happen between like midnight and 2 in the morning.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You're a musician, you know.
Yeah.
You're not a morning person. You know that the most creativity happens really late at night.
Really late at night, yeah.
Close the studio door, put the headphones on, and I'm just going through sound, you know, like, well, let me lay down a drum track, you know, and get kind of a cool feel. Or maybe I'm just playing around with the synth. You can tell with a lot of my music, I use a lot of what are called arpeggiators.
Yeah.
You know, most of these synths in the built-in soft synths have a built-in arpeggiator with it. Mm-hmm. So, which means it creates arpeggios. And so I love to play around with the arpeggiator and see what kinds of sounds, like that song we played earlier, 224, was just screwing around with an arpeggiator.
And then just...
Yeah, and just adding effects to it, you know, and getting a sound, you know. So it's kind of amazing what you can come up with. But that's how a lot of it comes out, you know, is just experimenting. Sometimes I'll do a little drum track, but then I'll take that guitar and I'll set the mic up with my headphones on, and I'll add the flange and the reverb and the delay so I can hear how it sounds, and I'll just start playing around with little guitar licks.
Oh, okay.
To see what kind of sound I'll get.
And then you set that way. So you have the soundscape set up. Do you have an idea specifically for the lyrics at that point?
No. It
just kind of comes out the way.
So, yeah, I mean, we're kind of talking about this album, but I mean, I've really spent a lot of time on this for the last year and a half, 2 years. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I've also spent an enormous amount of time writing like singer-songwriter music.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's funny is that I am kind of a hybrid.
Yeah.
Like I have this dark stuff, but I would never play that at a coffee shop.
No. Yeah.
You know? I have a lot of music that I play at a coffee shop that I write. You know, I write just sitting down with a guitar, probably like you do, with an acoustic guitar. Mm-hmm. And that stuff, it's still the same way. You know, you come up with a chord progression. If it's the synth music, you come up with, you know, a little pad or chord progression with whatever sound you have. Yes. The melody always comes after that. So, So like if I come up with a cool chord progression, I'll just start singing along with it, right? Mm-hmm. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
Some people, you know, they'll sit down and they'll write out their lyrics first, you know.
I've never been able to
cannot do that.
Yeah.
I remember watching a Tom Petty documentary, and you know, and he was just saying how he goes, sometimes it's like it just comes out of the ether.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I feel sometimes. Like for me, melodies come really easy.
That's amazing because I have a hard time with that.
Oh yeah.
Let's actually move on. I feel like this is a good stopping spot. Let's go to the game. The game.
The game. Okay.
And then I can come back and wrap around some of these. Okay, Super Bowl just happened. So let's talk about some of your, let's say, top 2 Super Bowl teams. Or we don't even have to say Super Bowl teams. Like, what are some of your favorite football teams of all time when you think about the greats?
It probably comes down to, you know, what's your favorite team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And has your favorite team actually made it to the Super Bowl? Because some people have a favorite team their entire lives and their team never makes it, right?
That's hard.
So for mine, you know, I grew up in Seattle,
mm-hmm.
and the franchise started in 1976. I think I was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you guys can do the math there. But it took years. They made it to like the NFC or AFC championship. They might have been the AFC back then, and lost to the Dolphins, and that was like in the 80s. And then they didn't make it back, and they made it back to the Super Bowl like in 2004 or 5, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and then the Cardinals went and made it in 2008. So those are the 2 teams. Since I've lived in Arizona for 25 years,
that makes sense.
Those are the 2 teams. You know, you're hoping to make it the Super Bowl. Well, then Seattle made it in 2013. You know, with their team.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm a Seattle fan, but for you Arizona folks. But I love the Seahawks, and I loved Russell Wilson, and so that was pretty exciting. So that's obviously my favorite Super Bowl was the Seahawks.
2013
yeah,
Seahawks.
But I love
They're a good team, man. That was a good game. I remember that team.
That was a great team and a great moment. I was watching like the parade online. I was part of that whole experience. It's kind of silly when you think about it, but it was fun. And then was it the 09 or 08 Cardinals team that went to Super Bowl? Larry Fitzgerald and Kurt Warner. That was a fun team. I think one of the questions you were going to ask me is, this is going to be my flippant answer.
Please.
Is what's your favorite what are some of the best teams that never won the Super Bowl?
Yes.
And my flippant answer is every team that went to the Super Bowl that didn't win.
Hey, I walked on that one. That's so funny. Isn't that true? You get an extra quarter in there. Who's to say it doesn't flip around the other way? It's just interesting.
Well, Denver Broncos, they went to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row and lost.
Yes.
And then the same with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I was going to say the Bills back in the 90s or 80s.
So they're definitely be contenders, but luckily for the Broncos, they actually went back and won some Super Bowls.
Yes.
So
I remember we met Jim. I think his name was Jim Kelly. He was the quarterback for the Bills, and my dad. We were at an airport. My dad walked up and said, "Hey, are you Jim Kelly?" He seemed really not happy to see us because we thought we were going to talk crap. But my brother and I, we grew up watching ESPN Classic more than what was going on. I love Joe Namath and Unitas and
behind the story kind of stuff.
Behind the story stuff to see all the drama. It's really about the storytelling, I guess. Now that I'm older, I can see that. And so I was like, "Oh, we watched your games just 2 weeks ago, man. You were amazing. Yeah, thanks for." And then he was just like, "Oh, it's really off guard," and it was very nice. It's really, I don't know. I think you were saying about watching the parade and how it's I think it's really more about that sense of community, which is such a great thing. Music is the same way, you don't have to. Absolutely. Oh, what's your favorite band? And, it doesn't even have to be your favorite band. It can just be people coming and singing at the same time. That's a powerful thing.
Absolutely.
Or watching, cheering. It's neat.
Yeah, there's, I think it's part of the human experience. Being in a crowd, I remember, being at U2 concerts. I'm an easy crier, but I cry easy at anything. I can be at church and I can be moved by something, or I can be watching a TV show and there's an emotional part. I'd be watching Downton Abbey and I'll start crying at a certain scene.
Yeah.
My wife is not the crier, but I'm watching. I have this collection of music, Blu-ray and DVD stuff, and I love to watch it. I've got this nice sound system on my TV, and I have everything from AC/DC to the Bee Gees. But I have this live performance of U2 at Slane Castle.
Okay.
And there's a transition. I don't remember what the song was, but from one song into Where the Streets Have No Name.
Wow. Yeah, that's
it's just beautiful, and literally it would bring me to tears every time I watch it.
Isn't that weird how that taps into
something? It's so.
I think it's a good way to be.
So, but yeah, it's the same thing. I've seen U2 live, and I think they have a certain. It's just their vibe. It has almost like a religious feel to it. You almost feel like you're at a worship thing.
Yeah, I remember. I've felt that same way. Let me just say it that way.
But I've felt that way with all kinds of stuff. Even the bands that I like, Depeche Mode. There comes a moment sometimes where you're just overcome by the experience when you're there and you're there with all those people and you're having that experience. I think I saw Roger Waters, doing all these Pink Floyd stuff.
Yeah.
It was the same kind of thing. It was just kind of overwhelming.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
But yeah, there's that big experience together, and then there's a small community because, I look at you and other people I've met along the way doing music here in the Phoenix Valley, and there's this music community. When I talk to people, I was just telling them the other day that I was going to do this thing with you, and I'm like, my friend Dean. I always preface it by saying, my musician friend Dean. This is like my little clique here of musician friends.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'm happy. Thanks for talking about it too, and I really have loved specifically being here in Phoenix versus other places I've lived as well, which all have their own great and wonderful thing going as well. It just seems like you can meet. It's unique in its own way, and I think that maybe my eyes weren't as open I was a little bit more self-centered about, that might be too harsh, but like so focused on my own stuff that I wasn't around listening to like other people's music. You're just kind of seeing what you could get out.
Yeah,
of it.
you're just really, if you're performing in different places and you're really busy with your music. But I'm sure you've met a lot of people in the bands you play with. You know, you meet a lot of people. So you've never thought about like picking everything up and going to Nashville?
I did. I have thought about that behind in the past. Yes,
right.
And I'm sure they got a great community there too. I just like. I like it here. I don't know what it is. There's something nice about it.
I agree.
There's not another Dean Christensen. There probably technically is because there's a lot. There's only so many names, but this one is. I like being here and playing with.
Yeah, and you started out at Sozo. You were working at Sozo for how long?
Yeah, like 3 years. Yeah, for 3 years.
Yeah, and that's a really great place, especially for younger musicians to kind of just kind of get out there and start connecting with other musicians, Yes. And then the older musicians, they went to that other coffee shop across the street.
Oh yeah, I kept hearing about that. That was before my
Yeah, that was Talibu.
Talibu.
But they went out of business.
It just didn't work.
They probably didn't quite have enough going on. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on around the valley.
There's and a lot of people are
like Bergie's in downtown Gilbert.
Yes, that's where you go? Is that where you go play?
Yeah, so I play there every Friday morning. I know it's kind of a unique time, but Bergie's used to do a lot of evening music.
Okay.
And they were usually open till 8 o'clock, and I'd played there quite a few times in the evening. I was even in a band for a while, and we played down there.
Nice.
But then they built Whiskey Row, they built the Brass Tap, they built all these bars next to it, and the owners of the coffee shop are like, yeah, we can't stay open after 6 anymore because some of these people would be out in the bars, and then they kind of
come back in,
roll into the coffee shop, and they'd be a little unruly sometimes.
Oh,
I don't think the owners wanted to deal with that, but plus it was a little louder too. So like Whiskey Row had bands playing, and they were right next to Bergie's.
You can't do anything about it. Yeah.
So it's all good because now what we do is what Bergie's does, not we. But Bergie's does live music throughout the weekend on the mornings.
Okay.
So I play on Friday mornings. There's a guy named Ted Newman. He's been playing there for years.
Okay.
He's an institution.
No way.
A lot of country and folk, and he's pretty interactive. And then Sundays they have different artists play, various people.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so neat to see these spots where everybody can congregate and also express themselves through the art, for sure. Okay, I want to get back to this. Deep Blue Day, was it inspired by the Brian Eno song? I was going back through and I saw that, and I was like, wait, I think I've heard this before. It is a great song, and it ties it all together in such a great way. I really like when bands actually do that. I think it's really neat when they pay homage to this band or that band and going like, I love this.
Yeah, I've always had a love. See, I like a lot of really unique stuff, but I've always had a love for ambient music like that song "Deep Blue Day" by Brian Eno. It's not anything like this, except for the fact that it's synthy and it's ethereal. Yeah. But I've always loved that stuff. There's another one called Liquid Mind out there that does it, stuff like that. And I've done a few pieces electronic. I do more like soundtrack music. I've never had my music placed, but I actually have some of my music under contract with a music publisher.
No way, dude! That's amazing. Yeah, that's very impressive.
Yeah. So, but you only make money if someone making a movie and they're like, well, what do you got? And then the publisher says, well, I've got this.
Okay.
He's placed music in different places, like the show Breaking Bad and stuff like that.
Wow.
But it's just really, it's luck of the draw. You got lucky.
Point. Yeah,
I like a lot of that ambient stuff too as well.
It sounds really good, and it can give you such a mood that some other genres have a hard time getting to, if that makes any sense. I think that does make sense.
Whatever mood you're kind of in, right?
Yes. Okay, let's talk about. I want to go to this next one actually. So there's been a lot of news about Neil Young and Joni Mitchell leaving Spotify in protest to some things that Joe Rogan had said. about spreading some misinformation, and we can go a couple of different ways with this one. But I would like to talk about specifically streaming platforms and what's your opinion on the benefits and maybe some things that are hindered by these streaming platforms?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the era where, you know, there wasn't streaming, there wasn't even the internet.
Yeah.
So if you wanted music, you know, you had to either hear it on the radio or you know, if you were lucky and you went down to the Tower Records and you listened to them, maybe they put a record on inside Tower Records and you're like, oh, hey, what is that?
Yeah.
You know, or you might ask them, what do you got in this genre? But
yeah,
I think later on, you know, like Tower Records, was it Tower that started having, maybe it was another record store where you could go down and you could listen to some things. You could ask to have a CD put in and you could put headphones on.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was like the next step.
Uh-huh.
But it was still really limited. So I think the beauty is pretty obvious, and that is that you can discover all kinds of music.
Yes.
Right? That you probably couldn't have discovered before. The drawback is that, you know, anybody, including me, you know, and everybody else, can do their album. You know, they can put their music out there, right?
Yeah.
So it's saturated. There's so much stuff out there. So it's a little harder for a musician to kind of, you know, I don't know if it's harder, but, you know, to get, you know, to go big, right?
Yes.
But maybe it also allows for more opportunities for more people too.
This is a great thing. I think we're in. There's a term outside of music, where people who don't really know that much about the that creative process, they're not self-trained or anything, they just put something out there, and there's something that's really unique and beautiful and human about that, more than somebody that was classically trained. Although there's a benefit to the other side.
Or it was BMI or Sony Music Entertainment.
Yes, so the album. When they came out and said, you know, gave their thumbs up on it.
Another great thing about streaming is that, like this genre I was telling you about, dark wave. You know, I don't know that stuff like that could really thrive if it was 1976. You know, because it was pretty much dictated by whatever the labels and the radio stations were going to put out there.
Yeah.
But now there's all kinds of genres, right? You can go and find the genre you like. If you like this other artist I've been listening to a lot lately, her name is Phoebe Bridgers.
She's amazing. I'm
thinking, you can find stuff like that, and all of a sudden Spotify now is recommending other things that's in the same genre, right?
It helps take, for better or for worse, it's also giving us more in the vein that we're looking for. I remember Pandora coming out and being like, oh, you seem to like something with this progression. And then it would give me some things. I was like, oh, that looks really good.
And then Pandora would play the same 15 songs in a circle.
And that would be the downside of Pandora as well.
Yeah.
That's so fun. It's neat to see. I mean, it's not going anywhere no matter what anybody says. So instead of, I think if we can start to change our mentality over from how do I make this work the best for me, part of it is that, but it's more like, what are the benefits of this? And does that make any sense?
I think there's still a lot of the same opportunities for like smaller groups of musicians, like you guys. You just recorded an EP.
Yes.
You can take that EP now down to your places where you're playing. You can have it sitting out, and people can buy your EP, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it worked back in the 70s. You went to a recording studio and you recorded it. Maybe you were on the radio station.
No.
So that part of it's still kind of traditional. You can still go out and you can still make a name for yourself locally.
Yes.
You know, but it still gives you an opportunity to get your music out there, even if you don't ever go big and blow up.
Or whatever that.
I mean, what is success, right? So sometimes it's just, for me, this success was just accomplishing, like getting the album done.
Yes.
You know, I'm pretty sure I'm literally going to get like dozens of listeners.
Yeah. Hey, you got one from me, and I will be keeping this on cycle for a long time.
But it's just nice. It's nice to be able to do it and share it with 2 or 3 people. You know?
Yeah. This is you put into that art. You made something, put it out into the world. That's amazing. That's a good feeling. Thanks for plugging that album too. Fine Wines and College Tries by Pablo Love Train is out now. So go stream that. And also be streaming Deep Blue Day Music. What
That's all one word, Deep Blue Day. You know, I wasn't smart enough to separate those, which would have been better for like smart speakers. But
I think it sounds great, yeah. And it's kind of what we were already talking about as well. Do you have an objective with what we were just talking about? I think this works really well. Do you have an objective with your music that you feel like you are, maybe even subconscious, if you stop to think about like, what am I trying to do with this?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, obviously I didn't set out with this or even the stuff that I perform in the coffee shop, which I don't want to sound, you know, like I'm patting myself on the back, but I get a lot of compliments from people who come up to me.
Yeah.
And they'll say things like, I just love your music because it's so pure, it's so from the heart. My music tends to be kind of very emotive.
Okay.
This stuff's a different way, but the song I wrote a song, my parents both passed away from COVID last year.
Yeah.
And I always say music is therapy, which you could change this to music, what's the name of this?
Theory, philosophy.
Music therapy, philosophy.
Yeah, hey, he's got it coined.
But yeah, so I joke around, but it's really serious. Music is therapy, right?
Yeah, you told me.
So after they passed away, well, before they passed away, I wrote a song because my mom she was losing her memory with dementia, and I wrote a song called I Remember. And I actually literally took a audio clip of my mother, like maybe a year before she died, and she still could remember me quite well, and Karen, you know, my wife. And I actually took that audio clip and I put it in the music. So when I perform this song live, which I'll do almost every weekend, not every weekend, so it's a little manipulative because sometimes I'll tell the story, you know.
Hey, you're connecting. Yeah, it's a more.
But you know, I'll just say, I'm just going to give you guys a heads up. My mom's going to be in this song. I have backing tracks, and so it's really sweet. And she talks. And then when I finish up the following verse, you know, the verse is like, I remember when you could not remember your daughters or your sons, Christmases of past Decembers, and when we had such fun. I hope you know how much I love you, but it will be all right, because you know I'll remember for the both of us tonight. And
that's beautiful.
About 75% of the time I can't get all the way through that every single time, because my mom's recording is on right before that. I kind of punish myself. But it's sweet, and then I sing that. But anyways, getting back to what I was originally answering was, I get a lot of that. So I think my music is very very emotional. It's very from the heart, and I think a lot of people feel that. And so I don't really set out to do it. I think I just do it. I do have some of my own sort of personal spiritual beliefs. I won't talk about that at all, but they're unique. And some of that you'll see, I never like to be very overt about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of my music, there's some subtle things in it that I'll reference.
Okay.
You know, but it's usually very subtle. I don't want to hit somebody over the head with it.
Yeah, I don't relate.
I wouldn't.
I don't like when people do that as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't classify it, definitely not as Christian rock or anything like that.
No.
But it's just, you know, like I said, yeah, that's. I've been studying near-death experiences for years.
Okay.
And so I think some of that, what I've extracted from that, gets kind of sewn into some of the music that I do.
That's neat. You're taking the art that you find and the literature and putting it back into to what you're doing through your own experience. Where can people find your music? And do you separate, I guess the last question is, do you separate that singer-songwriter coffee shop thing that you're doing right now, versus the dark wave stuff that you're doing as well?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's kind of funny. It's been a weird balance, you know, and sometimes it's a little frustrating because I'm like, I wish I could just focus on one, and do that really, you know, like really sink my teeth into that completely. The next step for me is to record some of the stuff that I do live. I mean, I've literally, like, I've written like dozens and dozens and dozens of songs that I've never recorded, and some of the stuff I've played at the coffee shop now for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and it's not recorded. And I have people come up to me quite often and are like, do you have any CDs I could buy?
Yeah.
Like,
no.
No, I'm too busy working on this Deep Blue Day project, which is probably not as accessible as my singer-songwriter stuff. So
yeah.
I think that's where I'm going to go in the future.
This is where we're kind of headed now.
For now. I mean, I love this.
Yeah, this is amazing too, yeah.
And then I also do my instrumental kind of soundtracky stuff too, so this depends on my mood.
You're creative and cranking
decide on one thing and do that really well. I can't seem to figure that part out.
I say life is long and large, and get as much done as you possibly can. Do whatever you feel like doing. That's amazing. What would be the best way to follow what you're doing right now? How do people stay up to date?
Any of the streaming services, iTunes, Spotify, the Amazon one, all of the streaming services.
Okay.
Yeah, just Deep Blue Day. There's no spaces in between that, so it's all one word. Smart speakers don't find it very well. Not very well, let's put it that way. So sometimes you got to use your phone to tell your speaker to play it.
Don't be afraid to use those thumbs, guys. Okay, I will have links to all of that as well in the.
Do you want to end it with a song?
End it with the song. Yes, let's do it.
What do you want? You want something up tempo, something
let's do
more
up-tempo,
moody, atmospheric?
Oh, let's do moody atmospheric. Okay.
So this one's a really cool song. It's called "Light Left in You."
Yes.
You would think it'd be like some sort of a happy upgo, but it's actually quite heavy and dark. But yeah, this is I call this "Light Left in You" the alternate universe version.
I love that.
So there's another version of it.
I love it.
So this is very ambient. There's not as much. There's some talking in it, if you will. So we sit here and
just and we start to slowly
kind of sink into the vibe. Right?
I love it. Oh, it's so good.
What do we do while we sit?
We just sit here and know this. We're gonna start to slowly fade it out. I'm gonna say, we're gonna play this one to the end. Love you guys. Thanks for watching today. Everybody give it up for Dean, the real true Dean, over here on my right, your left.
We're all true Deans.
We're all true Deans.
We're all Deans.
We're all Deans.